So a bunch of people have asked me to do an update on this tank over the last couple months. The things I did to it, how I got it started. It's been up, over a year now, I think, about a year and a half, going on a year and a half. I think it was January 24 that I set this thing up. And I'll talk about the plants I'm using in it, the fish, the inhabitants. There's Joe and Charlie, the angelfish. That's Joe there, and I think she's a koi. And Charlie, red devil maybe, and I'm hoping they'll make little whatever they come out to. I've got 5 black skirt tetras, and then there are 5 Buenos Aires tetras, and there's maybe a dozen or so bronze cories, and there may or may not still be some blue dream shrimp. Once in a while I'll see one, and it's been a while. And then what else? There's ram's horn snails, and there should be about a dozen clown plecos in here. I haven't seen them in months. They can't have all just died off, I wouldn't think. I figured they'd come out and die up front and gloat, but I haven't seen any. So not a clue. Maybe they're hiding in the rock stack back there. And the plants. Let's see, I think I said that. We'll talk about the plants. And I just finished dropping a big handful of California blackworms into here. And I know the fish got a lot of them because there's some pretty pretty fat bellies right now. And hopefully a lot of the blackworms will find their way down into the substrate and proliferate and propagate down there. And as fish come along and clip the heads off, we'll just make more. And that should maybe keep the stand going in here, which would be great. And then I just dumped 4 guppies, 3 males and a female, tuxedo guppies. And the reason I did that, yesterday on my live stream, we had a guest pop up, Greg, 3G. And he's got these spectacular tanks full of angelfish. And he puts guppies in his tanks. They provide a constant source of live food. So that's my thought. So as soon as I dropped them in, everybody started chasing the hell out of them. So I don't know if they even survive that. They should. So they're probably back there in the weeds. And hopefully they will produce live food for the angels. And I'm sure these tetras, as aggressive as they are, they will be eating fry as well, keeping the population down. But we'll talk about all this as we go. It needs some cleanup. We're going out of town Thursday. I'm going to do a water change on this. All the other tanks I'm just going to top off, I think, today. But this one I'll run a water change. And I'll run it down through the inflow system there. Yeah, I think I'll do that. And then I'll use my handy dandy, always charged outflow. And it starts here at this stainless steel screen that comes from a Graco airless paint sprayer. And the idea, it's the pickup tube, the screen for the pickup tube. And ideally it keeps chunks of paint from getting caught in the pump on the sprayer. So worked out good because it's hose threads. And that's a hose fitting, a PVC hose fitting. This whole thing's made out of PVC. And the only thing I regret doing, somebody told me this PVC ball valve is going to be a POS, and it is. It's really hard to throttle. I think I'm going to cut it out and put a brass one in there. And then, so the water comes down, goes into this valve. Right now the valve is off because it's perpendicular to the flow of pipe. When I turn it on, the valve handle will be parallel with the flow of pipe, and water will go out down the garden hose and out onto the front lawn. A couple things I got to be careful out here. We get fire ants this time of year. Haven't seen any yet. So anyway, the black hose is where the water's going to come out. It's just going to come out there. Where's my finger? Right there. And this is the inflow. And it's 100. No, I lied. I exaggerated. It's 99 degrees right now. So the water in this hose is going to be hot. So one thing I want to make sure I do, well, first off, I have to turn it on. So yeah, this is where I turn it on, keep the pressure kind of low. Got that splitter valve right there. And I don't want the pressure real high. And I'm going to let it run for a bit out there, make sure it all starts coming out at the cooler temperature. All right, it feels good. So I'm going to go hook it up. I'm going to shut it off here. So now I've got it hooked up down here, right here. And before I open this, I want to make sure that blue valve down there, let's just go over there. I want to make sure that this blue valve is in the open position, and it is. And all the others are closed, both on the upper rack and the lower rack, but I'm going to do the big tank first, and we'll go with that for right now. So I can turn that on. So I can turn this on, and I'll open it at the hose first, and all these leak. I love that. And then we'll open it to go through the system. Turn it slowly, and I'm going to tighten all this stuff. And I got water coming out here. Now, if I want to throttle it, I'm not going to throttle it here. I'm going to throttle it back at the garden hose. And then I want to open this. And if I open it all the way, this is going to drain a lot faster than it fills. So I'm going to open it all the way for a minute. Or they're coming to say hi. These are the inspectors. All right. I'm going to open it for a minute full tilt, let it get going. And then I'll throttle this back a little bit. And ideally, we'll get the water down to about somewhere around here and let it keep filling and let it keep draining. But right now, that may be filling faster than it's draining. So what I'm going to do is throttle it over there. All right, the water's going down a little bit here. It's gone down about 1/4 of an inch so far. What I ended up doing was going back to the faucet and turn it down there. It was just easier. So while this is happening, I figured I'd just use the sponge and go through the motions here of scrubbing down the glass a little bit. I use these yellow sponges with the green scrubby backs. It's plastic, so it's not going to scratch the glass. Occasionally, I will break out the razor blade scraper on the handle, and I know I get flack from that. I know, I suppose you could scratch the glass with it. I don't know that I ever have. And if you're not careful, you could probably cut the silicone. And I suppose if you're really careless, you could fillet some fish too, which would not be my first choice. So I only do that when I find really hard bits of algae. You can see a lot of the sediment coming up. And this system works for water change. It doesn't take a lot of the sediment out. I've got an aqua clear, so the big one, I think it's a 70 or bigger one. And actually it's not quite big enough to go over the rim of this 75-gallon tank. But it does pretty good. So I got just filter floss in it. I clean that periodically. You saw this stack of rocks. I don't know, back before the world ended, my wife Kathy and I did a fix and flip in Palm Springs, California. We live in Palm Desert, about a half an hour east now. At the time we were living in Orange County, California. 2-hour drive, something like that. And we did a fix and flip there. It was fun. It was a neat house, and it came out absolutely gorgeous. And so when we were taking apart the backyard, there was this big kind of like raised planter. And in the raised planter, and I wish I would have saved it now, was a plastic tub, one of those sink into the ground pond tubs, with the little steps so you can set plants on it and all that stuff. And there were these big rocks, big, really heavy rocks. I know rocks are generally heavy, but these were just super dense, whatever they are. And they're these that are stacked back here, some sort of metamorphic rock maybe. I saved them. We brought them home back to Westminster in Orange County and used them for, kind of like stepstones in the garden. I miss my garden. And then when we moved out here, we took them with us. I didn't know why, but I thought we're going to take them with us. And I did. And I'm really glad I did. Because what I did was with a, what are they, 7 1/4 inch skill saw? I put a carbide blade on it and I split these. Some of these rocks were about 1 foot wide and, God, I don't know, almost 3 feet long, 30, 34 inches, something like that long. And cut after cut and garden hose to keep it wet and cool until the saw wouldn't go any deeper. I flipped them over, did the same thing on the other side, and split these rocks in half. That was a project. That took a few days. I'm hiding now. I'm doing the end over here. So then I thought, well, I'm going to stack these rocks against the back wall. Got to figure out how. So I built a little sandbox on sawhorses, built a back length and an end, and like a dam all the way around it to keep all the sand in place, and stacked these rocks against the back wall. Figured out how they were going to go. Took some pictures. When I unstacked them kind of in reverse and stacked them on the floor so I could set them back up the way I wanted them in the tank here. And then I took a piece of half-inch styrofoam and set that on the bottom of the glass. And I took another half-inch piece of styrofoam that goes about to here. None on the end. I probably should have put a piece on the end, but it goes just short of the rocks here. And I spray painted it black, stuck that in so it would cushion the rocks against the back glass. Now you can see how the water's really coming down now. So I'm going to throttle this. I'm going to turn it closer to the perpendicular position, try and get the water to come back up a little bit. Things get stranded up on that rock ledge back there. And I don't want shrimp or fish to get stranded up there, if there are any shrimp still. Anyway, and the pothos are all up there, and that's okay. And there's a little fern up there too, we'll talk about maybe if I remember. So I've got a video on how I did that, how I set this tank up. I'll put that link in the description down below, and check it out. It was an interesting project. And then also how I ended up setting up the tank here. I put like a sand berm all the way around the glass and then out around the edge of the styrofoam. And in the center of that, I filled that with the flugel aqua soil, little black pellets. I haven't used it in so long, I forgot what it's called. And then sand and gravel on top of that and planted. It took a little while for plants to get established, but they did. I've got, this forest of Cryptocoryne wentii, God, I don't know, brown, I think is what they call it, or bronze. And then there's also a little Cryptocoryne pink flamingo down in here. And then some dwarf Sagittarius subulata. All right, so after I set up that substrate, I started planting. Now, I think just about all these plants came from other tanks. There's a couple that didn't. All these Cryptocoryne wentii, bronze or brown, I just salvaged from other tanks, and they have since spread out completely, and I pulled a few out. And you can see how they're spreading here. These spread by rhizomes under the substrate, or under the surface of the substrate. So I've got more to thin out again. And then I salvaged some Sagittarius subulata from other tanks. You can see it back there. It's going nutso. Over here, and I bought some just to fill it out. I didn't think I had enough. I didn't want to wait. And then I've also got back here in this corner Cryptocoryne wentii green. And there should also be an Amazon sword back there. Maybe it just got choked out and didn't make it. And then Aponogeton, I can't remember what the species is, but that's a really cool bulb. I bought this, I think, a 5-pack of bulbs at PetSmart, and only a couple survived. The rest were all like Deadsville. But that thing, this is the second year it's come back. It went completely away in the winter, and it's come back. It's flowered. It flowered once last year. There's the flower spike on it. Right now, it's flowered, God, I don't know, about 5 different blooms this year, or flower spikes like that. It's done really well. It's very cool. And then I bought from a vendor in, I think, Texas. There's some swasitang there. Is it? You know, maybe not. I think that's, I take that back. I bought this, also a vendor in Texas. I bought this Christmas moss, and it's doing well. It came from my tank in the house, and I was fighting that nasty green hair algae, and I finally got a few pieces out, and I put them in other tanks. They came out clean. So that's there. And then this Brazilian pennywort got from another vendor, I think also in Texas. Not sure where I got the Anubias. And it really doesn't matter because it propagates. There's another one up on the ledge there. Might be able to see it just kind of hiding in the shadow. Finger, where's my finger? Right there. And then all this pothos. I think this one's called Marble Queen or Gold Marble or something like that. And one of the other plants I got in that bulb pack was this Tiger Lotus. Yeah. And then also I got some these oh god, oh jeez, Amazon swords. Ariagonum? No. Wow, blank. So a couple of these Amazon swords. There's red melon and then red flame, and there's one of them's back there. These are up here. I will try and get that straightened out when I edit this video and put the right names up. And then I put I think one piece with a runner, like three little plantlets of jungle val, and it started out in the back there, and it kind of ran around the corner and is coming around the front. So what I do is I will just reach in and pull that out because I really don't want it coming across the front of the glass. So I think that might have been a bad choice for this end of the tank. I've got some corkscrew valve from Jody P, so maybe I'll put some corkscrew valve down at this end and maybe take this out. Echinodoris. There we go. So the Echinodoris or sword. Maybe I'll take this one out. I think some of them got a name change, but I'll take this out and maybe put some corkscrew valve at this end. And I'm trying to, do something to encourage these goofball angelfish to make little babies for me. I said I put the, what are they, the guppies in here. I set a couple pieces of PVC, just 3/4 inch Schedule 40 PVC, one at that end, one at this end. They pulled up to that one and stared at it for a while, and I thought, oh, cool, and that's as far as they got. Silly fish. So what else is going on in here? So then, yeah, across the top, it's the pothos, and all of a sudden, it just went nuts. And it's cool. I like it. And these are all pothos roots coming down across the front. Let me get my coffee out of here. My Magic Kingdom coffee cup's my favorite. I know you needed to hear that, right? So what else? So I think that's probably it on the plants. So that's Charlie looking at this thing like, yeah, maybe I'll fit there, and maybe I need to get those out and put some slabs of slate or pieces of marble. Go down to Floor and Decor and get a chunk of slate or a chunk of marble or something, some sort of tile. Put that in. But they hang out together. They play well together. They seem like they could be a good couple. And I'm pretty sure I got the sexes right. I'm pretty sure Joe in front there is the female. Charlie the male, he's got that nuchal bump on his head too. So what else we got going on here? I think that's probably about it. So now see the water's coming back up. And if I want the water to drain just a little bit faster, I can open this valve just a little bit more. It sticks. So there's a rubber O-ring or maybe a couple rubber O-rings around the ball valve in there. It's a ball with a hole through it. So as you turn it, it restricts the flow through the hole. But it seems like maybe the O-ring is starting to like cinch up in there. So, anyway, yeah. And so I just clean this. I just keep filter floss. That's the AquaClear 70. And that's kind of how this thing works. So I'll put links on how I did it. How I went about building this rock stack and setting up the tank. And maybe you get something out of it. I hope you do. And if you do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're getting really close to that 1,000 mark, and I'd love to hit that. That'd be a great milestone. So yeah, and do me a favor and hit that thumbs up if you would too. So I'm just pulling, I don't know what this is. It's just this fuzzy stuff. It looks like maybe it's a lot of sediment, but somehow it's stuck to the roots. Maybe it's a little bit of that hair algae there. Yeah, it could be. So throw that in the trash or out in the garden, actually. A lot of what I take out of the tanks goes into the garden because it's organic material. And the soil around here needs all the organic material it can get. We'll just put it up here for now so I don't forget it. And then this, it was a bulbitis, and it was completely submerged. It just wasn't doing great. And so I pulled it out. Somebody was going back and forth with me on one of my videos about it. And they said, it's really not an aquatic fern. It's more of like maybe a marginal fern. So I thought, all right, well, I'll stick it up here on the rock ledge and just shove the two little bits that are doing all right down in here behind that pothos leaf to kind of prop it up. Maybe, just maybe, it will recover. There's still life in it, so hopefully it will recover. I'm seeing the guppies. There's the female right there. And there's a male back in the weeds. I like to call it the weeds, back in the weeds, in the pothos. And there's one of the males right there. And God, when I dropped them in, these guys just went nuts after them. I thought they wouldn't make it. This will go with the video update about the 75-gallon. So on my stream yesterday, Greg 3G has some gorgeous angelfish. And I've got Joe and Charlie here. There's Joe. There's Charlie. I'm trying to get them to spawn. He says he puts guppies. In his angelfish tanks, and they provide a constant source of live food for the angels. So I thought I'd give it a try. I've got these tuxedo guppies. There's 3 males and a female here, and I'm going to put them in, and hopefully they'll establish here, create a source of live food, which may or may not encourage my angelfish to spawn. And I'm betting these little tetras, as fast as they are, they may get some of the little fry too. But there's a lot of little hidey holes. Some of them will survive, and if they get too thick in here, well, I'll net them out and move them back in with their colleagues, their kin. So that's kind of where this is with the guppies. This is why I'm introducing guppies into my 75-gallon tank. And now if they keep going, there's places for fry to hide a little bit. But hopefully that will encourage, constant source of live food, both between the black worms I introduced today. All right, so now water's gone down more than I had intended. I didn't throttle back on the valve over there. And in the meantime, I did fill all these tanks using that fill system. So it took the pressure and the flow off of this. So water went down, not so much came up. This was a used tank, by the way. I got this thing for, I think it was $35 on OfferUp. Might have been 40, I don't remember, but it's cheap. And they had a stand with it that looked like it was about ready to crumble. So I said, thank you, but you can keep the stand. I shall take the tank. And I think what I'm going to do now is go ahead and shut this off completely and let it fill. And then after it's full, I will dose it with, I think right now I've got API Stress Coat. I'll use that up. And then I've got a can of the C-Chem Safe, the crystals, the granules. Oh my God, that stuff smells like rotten eggs. And I thought it was just me, but I talked to somebody last night about it, or yesterday afternoon. Turns out, yep, that's what it smells like. So anyway, mix some of that up, and I'll probably, well, first I'm going to use up the Stress Coat. I used to use the API Tap Water Conditioner, and that really went a lot further. The Stress Coat doesn't go quite as far. The dilution, or whatever, not the dilution, the amount you're supposed to add to the tanks, it's more with the Stress Coat than it is with the tap water conditioner. So a little more expensive. C-Chem Safe, God, that'll do, I don't know, like 60,000 gallons in that little 8-ounce container or whatever it is. So when I was mentioning plants, and I do have Sawasatang back here in the corner. I don't know if we can see that with the glare. Probably not. But all the way back, I threw a little piece in there. I got some from that vendor in Texas, and I put a little bit in a bunch of different tanks just to see if anywhere it would survive. And yeah, it's picked its tanks. There's a couple that's doing really well. I like this stuff. I know a lot of people don't particularly care for it, but I do enjoy it. I like the look of it. So anyway, that's enough of that. I appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for sitting it out with me. As always, thanks for looking.